We're back in America after months of Canada, months of Europe. It's about the 6-month mark of us having left Bangkok and started on this adventure. So this seems like a good point to talk about the goals of the next 6 months, the goals of this whole trip. So I came into the States from Bangkok in January, pretty much to go to the Tucson show, but since I had to go up to Seattle to pick up a car, I was able to start this research trip early. So Seattle to San Francisco to LA to Tucson to Columbia, South Carolina, and back up to Chicago got me a bunch of interviews and allowed me to start to explore some of the fascinating history, which is what I'm looking to uncover this year. So this is the real meat of the trip, this beginning phase in Maine, which is where we just crossed the border into. So as we make our way through Maine, down the East Coast, and into the Midwest, and eventually into the West Coast and down the West Coast, what I want to do is uncover and document the story of American gem cutting. So we're going to do that by interviewing gem cutters, visiting lapidary clubs, visiting museums, and looking for rare archival material like photos, books, pamphlets, newsletters, magazines, club journals, really anything that we can find, old stones, old faceting machines, anything that will allow me to understand the history of American gem cutting, going back into as early as the first 10 years of the 1900s, but specifically 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. That's the focus of my research. And from that research is going to come a book called Pioneering the American Faceting Movement. So the documentary part, which is the interviewing gem cutters around the country, that's going to be more about the 1960s, the 1970s, the 1980s, up until the 2000s where we're at today. So we kind of have two different projects happening at the same time. One of them is video-based with the documentary, and one of them is more archival, literary based, which is going to be my book. So let us enter Maine and see what wonders we have waiting for us.
This is grilled vegetable primavera with a garlic scape garlic bread.
How does it taste?
Divine.
It's 4:30 in the morning in Maine, and I'm too excited to keep sleeping, so we need a bath bomb.
Knew exactly how this ran, and there's actually another piece over here.
We're in Norway, Maine, once the home of gem cutter Knox Bickford, but we have no idea where he lived. Also, Creaser Jewelers, who we're going to see tomorrow. So we're inside of the Maine Gem and Mineral Museum in Bethel. The museum's closed today, but we're doing some interviews with people. So before we get started, we have kind of a private access to the museum, which is kind of cool. We haven't really been here before, so we're just giving it a check out before we set up all the camera gears and stuff.
We are at the Maine Mineral and Gems Museum. First American fasting machine.
Super cool. A bespoke, homemade Maine mask machine, an old American faceter, an old gem lap machine. And then here, I think this is probably the crowning jewel of this collection, the Mercapone machine, which is the culmination of all of these older ideas from the 1900s, 1910s, and then finally in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, they started making this new, very high-tech version. We've got index gear in a very unique way. We've got angles, and then we've got the whole mast going up and down with that knob right there. Psychedelic Mexican bathroom stuff. So here we are at the old jail turned library and museum. So this was A.C. Hamlin who bought this up. He was one of the early miners here. And here we have the man himself, Augustus Hamlin and Lauren Merrill. So already today we did 2 interviews at the Maine Gem and Mineral Museum in Bethel. We visited the Hamlin Memorial Library, and now we're coming to do one last video interview of a Maine gem cutter and jeweler at Creaser's Jewelers. So you want to go to 35 for your crown mains. You want to go to 42 for your pavilion mains. Every morning I wake up to walk Milo and I come and I test to see if Derek Katzenbach's blueberry bush is ready. Still very tart. So we just finished up the faceting demo day at the Maine Mineral and Gem Museum in Bethel. Now we're doing a dinner break, hopefully. Turns out that a lot of stuff's closed at nighttime in Maine. Just trying to find some dinner and then go back and do a talk. So that's a lot of talking for one day. Here we are at the Maine Mineral and Gem Museum. They've got some very cute tourmaline on the window. Oh yeah.
Gemstones from outer space. Okay, there you go.
Oh yeah. Nice. 1913. So this is like the era that I'm currently studying, the Maine cutters from the early 1900s, and they're learning how to cut for the first time, and this is what they're making, which is pretty cool. It's Friday, and once again, we're hiking through the paths and forests of Maine. We had a really nice morning with our buddy Derek Katzenbach, who we're staying with. He did a proper interview with us on camera, so he's going to be part of our narrative for this story that we're trying to tell. And we're just kind of having a day off. We've had a really intense week, 5 days in a row now of history, research, cutting, interviewing people, so a day to rest. So as we were going up to the French Mountain Trail, we drove past this interesting looking rock shop, and we thought we would check it out because it looks like a rare gem. The walkway is made of mica. They got the sawing and slabbing gear on the side. Looks like nobody's home to show us, but it looks cool in there. Too bad we can't go in. I'm in Norway, Maine, outside of the bar and grill called 290 Main Street. And this, in the 1920s, used to be the lapidary and gem and jewelry shop of the Bickfords. So the Bickfords were one of the early gem cutters from the 1920s who learned gem cutting from Lauren Merrill and were part of the early Maine cutting community. So just a 10-minute drive from the Bickford shop, we've got, in the days of the 1920s up until 1930, this was Lauren Merrill's house. He was Maine's first gem cutter. He was a miner at Mount Micah. Mount Micah is just about a 20-minute walk that way. So he probably would have just walked over there, done his mining, come back. And back in those days, he actually had a shed either behind the house or kind of where this garage is here. And that's where he would have done his gem cutting. So just a few minutes up the road from Lauren Merrill's house, this is the entrance to Mount Micah. So Lauren Merrill was the mine rights holder in the 1910s and 20s, and he was the main miner here who was finding lots of Maine tourmaline and other stones, and then he'd take them down to his house where he had his workshop in the back, and he'd cut them. Pretty weird stairway to nowhere, but it looks nice. It's Saturday morning and we are gonna go see our first Maine mine and visit the Havey quarry. So let's see what happens. So whenever the Micah's in groups, you call it books?
Yeah.
It looks like a book.
Yeah. So in some cases they would save things like quartz, because quartz actually is an abrasive. So sometimes there was a market for quartz.
It's a hot summer afternoon in Maine, and we're at a classic frozen custard shop, Hodgman's from 1946. I think I got too much ice cream and a classic car. Our last day in central Maine. Tomorrow we go down to Portland, but before we leave, one last cool day. We are currently at Dig Maine Gems, where you can dig through the tailings from the mine, and then so we're gonna fill up one of these yellow buckets and sort it out and sift it out and see, will we come up with any interesting or cuttable gemstones. What do you think? Are you excited to dig?
Yes, find some good stuff.
Here's our bucket. Big piece of Micah. See how we did. This is all the keepers. Oh, this is that was the first piece that we pulled out. Nice tourmaline structure. Not cuttable, but just a fun souvenir. Thinking we can do some rose cuts with these. This one's kind of fun, half quartz, half black tourmaline. We got really lucky today. The people that run Dig Maine Gems are also running another sort of digging at Mount Micah service on Sundays, and it's Sunday. And we were able to come up into Mount Micah, see the mines, see where they used to mine 100 years ago, and see the tunnel that they're mining in now. But we got locked in The gate's locked. We can't get out, so I gotta find somebody to let me out. So we were able to get out of Mount Micah. The rock ferry let us out. And now we are having lunch inside of 290 Maine, which is the old Bickford gem and lapidary shop from 100 years ago, now turned from a gem cutting studio into a bar and restaurant. But really cool to just be in here and touch the walls and see old history being reused. So this is Leighton's jewelry store. It used to be Prim's of West Paris. There was a jewelry store here for probably almost 100 years that closed in 2008, I think. And now, after 5 years of being closed, this place opens. It's a new shop that doesn't really have anything to do with the old one, but still, we want to go check it out and see what the building's like and just see what's in there. And so this came out.
This came out from a collection in the 20s, but I showed it to Gary Freeman. He's the current owner of Mount Micah. Right. He even agreed with me that it was probably before the 20s, like Lauren Merrill's time.
Okay. So tomorrow we go to Portland and continue on our adventure, and we will see you guys next week as we explore America's gem cutting history.